Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are metaphorically standing at the gates of Cambridge, Massachusetts. We're looking at the ivy, the brick, that whole aura of exclusivity.
We're talking about Harvard.
We are talking about Harvard.
It's the brand name of brand names in education. It just, has a certain weight to it.
It absolutely does. But, and this is a really big but, we are not here to talk about the endowment or the secret societies.
Or the stress of getting an acceptance letter?
No, we're leaving the admissions office completely out of this.
Right. We can save the anxiety about acceptance rates for another day. Today is about utility. It's about what actually happens once you're inside.
Exactly. We are here to stage a heist. We've gone through this massive stack of
A
sources.
huge stack. Articles from the Harvard Gazette, deep dives from the Harvard Business Review.
Alumni outcome studies, pedagogical breakdowns, all of it. And the mission is to figure out what is going on inside those classrooms. We want to, hack the Harvard operating system.
I love that framing. Because when you strip away the prestige, you strip away the tuition bill.
All of it.
What's left underneath is a very specific and, I think, replicable set of mental tools. We're calling it the Harvard method.
And the goal of this deep dive is to prove that this level of thinking isn't locked behind some gate, right? It's a kit.
A kit of cognitive habits.
A kit that anyone can install in their own brain, starting today, for $0.
No student loans required. It's about the software, not the hardware.
So we are basically democratizing the elite education experience.
Huh?
By the end of this conversation, we want you to walk away with 5 specific pillars.
Actionable habits?
Yes, that will upgrade how you solve problems, how you argue, and really how you see the world. So let's crack the code. Where do we start?
We have to start with the most famous tool in their arsenal. I mean, if you talk to anyone who went to the business or law schools there, this is the first thing they mention.
Okay.
Pillar 1, active learning and the case method.
The case method. It sounds a bit like detective work.
In a way, it is. But to really get it, you have to think about the traditional model of education. Think back to high school, maybe most undergrad programs.
It's passive.
Totally passive. You sit, you listen, you memorize a theory, you take a test to prove you remember it. It's a transaction.
Right. Here is the formula. Now solve for X. It's all very neat and tidy.
Harvard flips that entirely. Students aren't given answers, they are given cases.
And these aren't neat little story problems where train A leaves the station at 5:00 p.m., are they?
No, not at all. Reading the descriptions, these cases are nightmares.
They sound like it.
They're real, messy narratives. Incomplete. They involve business crises, complex policy dilemmas, ethical minefields. And here's the kicker.
What's that?
The data in the case is often contradictory. Or the single most important piece of information is just missing.
Which has got to be incredibly frustrating if you're used to a textbook where the answer's in the back.
It is designed to be frustrating. The student is thrown into this mess and forced to act. You aren't asked, what is the theory? You are asked, what would you do?
So it shifts your identity. You stop being a student, absorbing facts, and start being a decision maker who has to synthesize them.
That's the core shift. And the research from Harvard Business Publishing, it really backs this up. They found this method drastically improves retention and judgment.
Why is that?
Because you aren't just storing information, you're simulating the emotional and intellectual weight of leadership. You have to take a stand publicly in front of 90 other smart people who are ready to tear your argument apart.
That sounds terrifying, honestly. The famous cold call.
It creates urgency, but more importantly, it mimics reality. In the real world, you never have 100% of the information. You have 60% and you have a deadline.
So for the listener who isn't in a lecture hall, maybe they're dealing with a project crisis at work, how do we apply this? We can't just assign ourselves a 40-page reading.
No, but you can simulate the mechanism. The actionable takeaway is to stop looking for a quick fix. Instead, turn your problem into a mini case.
Okay, walk me through that. What does that look like on a Tuesday morning?
It's a writing exercise. Before you react, just take 10 minutes. Write down the context. Who are the actors involved? What's the hard data?
And the emotional dilemmas too, right?
Oh, absolutely. And most importantly, force yourself to write down what is missing.
Identifying the blind spots. That feels like the step everyone skips.
We skip it because we want to solve it. But listing what you don't know is often more valuable than listing what you do know. Once you have that case on paper, you've externalized the problem. It's no longer just stress in your head.
It's a scenario on paper.
Exactly. Then you debate solutions.
And there was a specific trigger question in the notes that I thought was brilliant. The CEO question.
Right. This is crucial. Ask yourself, What would the CDO do in this situation?
Even if you're the intern.
Even if you're a freelancer, a parent, a solo operator, the point of the question isn't to pretend you have authority you don't. It's to force you to zoom out.
I see. Because an executor thinks, how do I get this task off my to-do list?
But a CEO thinks, how does this decision affect the company next year? How does it balance the budget against our culture?
It creates a psychological distance. It lets you judge better.
You stop reacting to the immediate fire and start thinking about the fire safety system. You're practicing strategy before you even have the title.
I love that. Okay, so let's move to pillar 2. This one feels a bit more philosophical, but the sources argue it's actually the engine under the hood. Rigorous critical thinking.
This is the big one. The Harvard stamp isn't really about knowing more facts.
In the age of the internet, facts are cheap.
We all have Wikipedia in our pockets. The value add is about questioning better. It's about the architecture of an argument.
This makes me think of those famous justice classes with Michael Sandel.
Sandel is the perfect example. He fills a theater with 1,000 students and asks them questions like, is it ever okay to steal a drug to save a life? And in those classes, you can't just state an opinion.
You can't just say, well, I feel like that's wrong.
Feelings are the starting point, not the end point. Every single claim has to be supported by evidence and logic. The classroom becomes a laboratory of thought.
And the goal isn't to be right.
No! The goal is to test the strength of your reasoning against the strongest possible counterarguments.
The think harder is kind of vague advice, isn't it? Our brains are lazy.
They are. We're cognitive misers. So we need a specific tool. We're calling this one the lens of the 3 whys. It's a mental workout you can do with any belief you hold.
Okay, let's break it down. The 3 whys.
Let's say you have a strong opinion. Remote work destroys company culture.
Okay.
Apply the lens.
Okay.
Why? Number 1, why do I believe this is true?
This forces you to check your evidence. Is it data, an anecdote, a headline?
Or is it just a vibe? We almost always skip this step. We assume we know why we think things, but usually we just think them.
Okay, so what's the second why?
Why? Number 2, why might it not be true? This is the hardest one.
You're playing devil's advocate against yourself.
You have to actively search for bias, missing info, the counter-argument. If you think remote work kills culture, you have to force yourself to list 3 ways it might improve culture.
That's uncomfortable. It feels like you're losing the argument with yourself.
Which is exactly why it's so valuable. It separates your ego from the idea. If your idea can't survive a challenge from you, it will not survive the real world.
And the third why?
Why number 3? Why does this reasoning matter?
Connecting the thought to its implications.
Exactly. If I'm right, what happens next? If I'm wrong, what are the consequences? It forces you to look at second and third order effects.
So the real insight here is to basically mistrust your first instinct.
Correct. Your first instinct is usually emotional. It's a shortcut. The 3 whys slow you down and force that higher level thinking to kick in. It turns a reaction into a response.
It's like a safety check for your opinions. I can
Yeah.
see how that changes.
Yeah.
Everything. A dinner table conversation, a boardroom meeting.
It changes the tone completely. It moves you from, I'm right, you're wrong, to, let's examine the evidence together. It turns conflict into collaboration.
Which actually leads perfectly into pillar 3. Because real-world problems don't fit into one category. We're talking about interdisciplinarity.
This is a huge part of the modern curriculum there. You've got computer science students taking ethics and literature, biologists studying economics.
And on the surface, that might look like a distraction. Like, why does a coder need to read Shakespeare?
Because real-world problems don't exist in academic silos. Take climate change. Is that a science problem?
Sure. Chemistry, physics.
But it's also an economic problem, a political problem, a sociological problem.
If you try to solve it with just chemistry, you fail.
You fail. There was an article in Nature we looked at that argued robust solutions are inherently interdisciplinary. Innovation happens at the boundaries, at the collision points between fields.
So if you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
But if you have a hammer, a microscope, and a book of poetry, you start seeing the world in much higher resolution. You see the whole system.
So for the listener who is maybe stuck in their professional lane marketing, engineering, whatever, how do they simulate this? Most companies want you to stay in your lane.
You have to rebel a little. You have to practice mental cross-citations.
I like that term. What's that mean in practice?
When you face a challenge, you ask, how would a psychologist explain this marketing issue? What would an engineer say about this HR process?
You're role-playing different departments in your head.
And you should do it in real life, too. Invite people from different departments to your brainstorming sessions. If you're a creative, ask a data analyst to look at your work. Not to check the math, but just for their perspective.
It's about breaking out of the echo chamber.
Completely. The best insights come from the friction between different ways of seeing the world. And that friction is the spark.
Let's talk about the environment itself. Pillar 4. We know these places are high pressure, but the source material suggests it isn't just about grades. It's about a culture of trajectory.
This is a critical distinction. Yes, the pressure is immense, but the value system, at least in its ideal form, it prioritizes the process over the result. It's about the argument and the attempt.
This reminds me of Carol Dweck's work on the growth mindset.
Yes, Dweck is from Stanford, but that concept is deeply institutionalized here. The shift is moving away from, did I achieve it, to what did I learn in the attempt?
Okay, I have to play the skeptic here. Isn't that just a way to make people feel better about failing? Oh, I didn't get the contract, but I learned a lot.
It's not about feeling good. It's way more pragmatic. It introduces the concept of the good error.
Ooh, tell me about the good error.
A bad error is just sloppy work. You didn't prepare, you were lazy. That's useless.
Zero credit for that.
Zero. But a good error is a mistake that, after you analyze it, gives you a powerful insight. You did the work, you had a hypothesis, you executed, and you were wrong. The question is why?
So you're mining the mistake for gold.
Exactly. Maybe it reveals a flaw in your logic. Maybe it reveals a hidden variable in the market. If you get the right answer for the wrong reasons, pure luck, that's actually dangerous.
Because you can't repeat it. You don't know why it worked.
Right. But if you get the wrong answer through a rigorous process, you are one step away from a breakthrough. You can calibrate.
That is a huge mindset shift. It takes the fear out of being wrong.
It makes being wrong a productive part of the day. It turns failure into data.
Okay, let's move to the final pillar, pillar 5. We've talked about how you think alone, but learning is social.
It absolutely is. The reality of any high-performing environment is that the network is the learning ecosystem. You learn as much from your peers in the cafeteria as you do from the professors.
And the sources say diverse networks increase innovation and resilience. But that word networking makes people cringe. It feels so transactional.
It does, but think about it as cognitive diversity. If everyone in your network knows exactly what you know, you are fragile. If you're a realtor and you only know other realtors and the market crashes.
You're all in the same sinking boat.
Exactly. But if you're connected to diverse perspectives, you have a safety net of ideas. You see the storm coming from a different angle.
So how do we build this if we aren't in a dorm room in Cambridge? How do we build a learning ecosystem in the wild?
You have to be intentional. You can create mastermind groups. It sounds fancy, but it's just a few people who do different things meeting up.
I'll teach you X, you teach me Y.
That's the core of it. But even simpler, treat every conversation with someone who thinks differently not as a debate to be won, but as a mini class.
Turning a casual chat into a class, I love that.
If you meet a plumber or a neurosurgeon, ask them how they solve problems. When a pipe bursts, what's the first thing you look for? How do you memorize a symphony?
You're extracting their mental models.
You are downloading their software into your brain. You're adding their lens to your kit.
Which ties back to the active learning we started with. Every interaction is a case study.
If you're paying attention, yes. The world is full of information if you just ask the right questions.
Okay, we need to pause for a reality check.
Yeah.
We've laid out these 5 pillars, but the sources give us some warnings. It's not all sunshine and ivy.
No, there are traps. The biggest one is the snobbery trap.
Yeah, nobody wants to be that person at the party who's overanalyzing everything. Actually, applying the Kantian imperative to your choice of appetizer.
Right. Don't be that person. Using these methods isn't about sounding smarter, it's about being effective. Intellectual humility is required.
It's a tool for construction, not destruction.
Beautifully put.
And then there's the execution gap.
The classic problem, we listen to the deep dive, we nod, we feel smarter, and then nothing changes.
We go back to our old habits.
Yeah.
So how do we bridge that gap?
The sources suggest a challenge. Do not try to do all 5 of these things tomorrow. You will fail.
Okay.
Pick one pillar, just one. Let's say it's the lens of the 3 whys. Practice it deliberately for 21 days. Just commit to asking, why might I be wrong, once a day.
That's manageable. It builds the muscle.
And once that habit is locked in, you move to the next one. It's about incremental upgrades.
And we should also address the context. Harvard provides a safety net.
It does. They have the structure, the mentors. When you're doing this in the wild, you have to build your own scaffolding. You have to be your own dean of students.
That's the hard truth.
Yeah.
But it's also the opportunity, right? You get to design the curriculum.
Precisely. You aren't studying for a degree, you're studying for your life.
So let's bring this all together. What's the synthesis here?
If we zoom out, the Harvard experience we've talked about isn't about a place. It's a system operating for thought. It's an OS that is active, critical, interconnected, process-oriented, and networked.
And the beauty is you can run that OS on any hardware.
That's the democratization. The true luxury of an elite education isn't the buildings, it's the time and space to think deeply. And that is something we can prioritize in our own agendas.
We treat thinking time as a luxury, but it's really a necessity.
It's a choice to be deliberate rather than reactive.
So here is our final call to action for you. The next time you face a complex challenge, a crisis at work, a difficult family decision, don't wish you had a diploma on the wall. Activate Harvard mode.
Ask the CEO question. Run the 3 whys. Call a friend in a different field.
You don't need the tuition bill to do that.
Not a dime. You just need the discipline to stop and think.
And I want to leave everyone with one final thought. We often think of education as a phase of life that ends. You graduate, you're done. But if you adopt these pillars, the brain becomes the ultimate portable university.
That's a powerful image.
So the question isn't whether you can get in. The question is whether you are using your capacity to its fullest extent right now, wherever you are.
That is the only question that matters.
Thanks for diving in with us. Let's keep hacking the system.
See you next time.